Hey guys, I hope you had a great spring break and you're glad to be back. Um, I know this isn't normal by any means, and not exactly the way we want it to be, but I'm trying to look at the positive. I hope you are too. Positive learning. I don't know. View from your office hopefully is a little bit nicer. Maybe you can learn with friends. There's my dude. What else? We can eat whatever we want when we want while we're learning. Mrs. Miller's going to gain 10 pounds during this quarantine. No expectations. You can have your phone out. So there are some positives if we want to look at those. Um, so from what I hear, you were learning about DNA with Mrs. Arnold. And I want to talk to you. I want to kind of spend the next 2 weeks reviewing what you guys learned, just in case we missed anything, need to check our understanding. Uh, but every year that I'm usually in school, I like to tell a story to get this unit started. And it's kind of embarrassing. It's a story from when I was in high school, a few years ago. Um, but I was a little hesitant this year because I don't know, something weird. I didn't want to put it out there on video. It's one thing to tell you guys in person, but to put it out on the internet, something different. But I'm going to trust you, and we can keep it between us, and it's not going to leave Schoology. So this was me in high school, kind of the same, a little nerdier. Now I'm just older and nerdier. But when I was in high school, this is the embarrassing part. I really, really, I liked Ho-Ho's. The chocolate thing with the cream wrapped up inside. I was kind of obsessed. Like one for breakfast, one before lunch, one for lunch, one as a midday snack, maybe two after dinner. Um, so I was eating maybe a box a day. Again, embarrassing. Let's not talk about it. The past is in the past. But it got to a point where my mom she was fed up. She was doing the grocery shopping. She was tired of buying Ho-Ho. She just said, enough's enough, Lauren. Like, this isn't healthy. So she stopped buying them. Wasn't very happy, but I figured I'd get over it. But about that time in school, we had an assignment, and our assignment was to job shadow someone. So I was sitting in class next to my friend, and we all have these friends that are kind of a bad influence. I was a pretty good kid overall, people pleaser, teacher's pet. But I had a friend who was kind of a bad influence. And so this was all her idea. Let's keep that in mind. Here's my friend now. See, I do have a friend. There she is. For the purposes of this, let's call her Karen. I don't want to get her in trouble. So Karen was sitting in class with me that day, and she said, hey, if we're going to job shadow, Dave's dad works at the Hostess factory. Hostess, they make Ho-Hos, Twinkies, all those delicious treats. She said, let's go and job shadow him, and let's see if we can either get some free samples or, learn how to make them. I was like, all right. And I was in high school. I didn't really care. I just wanted to get the assignment done. So we talked to Dave, and before we knew it, we were at the Hostess factory getting a tour from Dave's dad. Kind of boring. But Dave's dad took us on a tour of the building, and we got to see where all of these things were made and packaged. If you guys have ever seen the show, How It's Made, it was kind of cool to be in the factory part and see how these things were made. And then the coolest part is we got to go in the vault. And this vault at the Hostess factory had all of the recipes for all of the different products that Hostess makes. So we got to go in the vault. We couldn't touch anything, but every single recipe for all of their products. Uh-oh. Time out. Nope. We might be fussing. All of the recipes were found in this vault. So after the tour, we went back to the office, and Dave's dad had a meeting. So he said, hey, you guys can just hang out here. I'll be back in a little bit. So of course, Karen, again, all Karen's idea. Karen said, "Hey, let's head back and let's see if we can get in the vault and let's see if we can get the recipe." So I was a little nervous. I stayed in Dave's dad's office, and Karen, she took a Post-it note and a pen, and she left and she went down to the vault. And no sooner did she come back, and on her little Post-it note, she had shorthanded written, and she got in there quick. It was she's gone for maybe 2 minutes at the most. It seemed like forever. I was sweating bullets. Like I said, I was a good kid and I was a little afraid of being in trouble. So she comes back with this Post-it note. She had the recipe. It was shorthanded. It wasn't word for word, but she had shorthanded the recipe for the ho-hos. And we left that day with the recipe, and we went home and we made our own ho-hos. I will say they didn't quite look as nice and neat, but they tasted the same. They were delicious. And I could make them in my kitchen whenever I wanted to. My mom wasn't mad at me, so it was a win-win. Now, I wouldn't just tell you an embarrassing story about myself just to tell it. I want to relate this back to what we're learning in DNA. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions here and see if we can connect the dots and why I told you this story. All right, so I will be back.